Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. Apologies I wasn't able to get to an Omega run this week. I just had travel with work going on, so I was out Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I got back Thursday. So I was able to read a lot of books, but I just didn't have time to record in between. And so with that, I was like, okay, do we really want to put one up on like a Thursday, and then you already have the Saturday one up, and it just doesn't get that much time. You put all that effort in. So it's like, you know what? Maybe we'll just go ahead and double up on Omegas for next week since I have the books already read. But, you know, we'll still have our standard Saturday. We'll have an Omega for next week, and we'll just kind of keep it going for there. But, you know, other than that, for this issue, it's a bunch of like interesting things going on. So we have some standard stuff. I think we have stuff from a previous week. We have stuff that was delayed that's in here as well. And I think we have a backlog issue or two also. So it's just kind of like a smorgasbord of a bunch of different stuff going on for this particular issue, just because we just had a lot that we were reading through, and I wanted to keep it, you know, a little bit more interesting and balanced out for the Omegas that we'll do for later this week. So other than that, I mean, we're going to go through the polls that we have for this week. We're going to go through the polls for next week. Of course, we'll review 10 books. The one thing I didn't get a chance to do that I talked about on the previous show is I didn't get a chance to go through all the June previews. So I'll make sure that we definitely get that done this week, and then we'll have that posted. I like to keep those on Saturdays just so that's consistent. Talk about polls, talk about previews there. So that'll probably be for next Saturday to go ahead and talk through those. But remember, for me, I'm in a phase right now where I'm trying to take some things off the pull list, you know, getting to the point where it's a lot more books than I'm comfortable with just getting through when you factor in the backlog as well. So just at a place right now, it's like, okay, let's just focus in on stuff that like we're truly enjoying, or do we actually commit to this for X, Y, Z reason, or there's a really good reason as to why I need to pick something else up until some stuff starts to, you know, fall off and conclude. And we have one of those in this issue today, which is good. So without further ado, let's just get into it, shall we? You can see the books up here, but let's start off how we always do with our polls of the week. And we are locked and loaded. If I flip over to my share screen on the video for those of you watching, of course available on YouTube, and then for podcasts it's Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Spotify is the preferred, but obviously, you know, do whatever you want to do. That's totally completely fine. You can see the poll list here. It says that we have 12 books, but it's actually a little bit more than that we have. But we'll just go in order of what everything is listed here. So if you can see on the screen, if I've read it, it's going to be in this review as well. But there are some others that I have read that were picked up this week that aren't listed here. But we have Absolute Green Lantern number 3. Read it. We'll review it today. Absolute Superman number 8. Read it. We'll review it. Doctor Strange of Asgard number 4. We'll save that for the Omega. Ghost Rider versus Galactus. This is the second to last of these one-shots. I think the next one is going to be Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. So that we'll save for an Omega. The Immortal Thor 24 is for an Omega. The Moon is Following Us number 10. That's the conclusion to this series. We read it. We will review it. Resurrection Man Quantum Karma number 3. So this is one of the ones that was actually delayed. So League still says that it's coming out this week, but it was pushed. When I didn't see it in my stack, I was like, that's kind of an odd one to not be in there. It's DC. And then, yeah, the shop let me know, like, hey, it's been delayed. Then we have Star Wars The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi number 5. We'll save that for the Omega. Storm number 9, that's actually a backlog, so that'll be way further down the road. Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 1, you saw that if you're on the video. That's going to be the first one that we review. So read it, and for whatever reason it doesn't have that I read it, but I did. And then Ultimate Wolverine number 6, we'll save that for an Omega. Looking forward to that. And then X-Men number 17 will be a backlog further down the line as well. So the other books that I have in here too are All New Venom number 7. So we read that, we'll review it. And the reason it's not on the pull list is this is one of the ones that I decided to stop reading basically. And I wasn't sure if it was going to catch it in time before the shop took it off the list. For our shop, and I think pretty much any other local comic book store is going to be this way too. When you put yourselves on the pull list, it's not like they're like reserving a copy for you. They are specifically buying that copy for you. So you are in a way obligated to buy it, right? Now, if you're a good customer and like you don't want to do X, Y, and Z for whatever reason, I'm sure they'll work with you. But certainly if you're coming right off the street and like you're like, yeah, I reserved this, and now suddenly you don't want it, you're gonna buy it. So and I have a great relationship with those guys, so I was like, okay, this will be the one that'll basically cap off that particular story, and then it'll fall off the list moving forward. The other one that I have on the list, and I'll flip over to the picks of the week and where everything ranks right now, is Imperial number 1. So I was hemming and hawing of whether or not I should pick this up. I saw it a little later in one of the ads in the comics, not in the previews, and saw like this is a project that Hickman is working on. So it's like, oh, man, maybe I should, but this was kind of in the phase of let's be a little bit more selective about what we're going to pick. Not until this ad showed up did you even realize that this was a thing. So maybe let's just hold off and wait and see. And then sure enough, the shop, they ordered a bunch extra. It's Hickman, right? So they knew it was going to fly off the shelves. And they decided to throw it into my box because they're like, hey, if you're on XYZ thing, you're probably going to want to be on this. And I was talking to the manager, and he's like, this book is absolutely incredible. And so with his endorsement, and he hasn't led me astray, he's a big Rom V fan, and I've since read a bunch of Rom V because of him, and totally agree. He's one of the GOATs that's out there right now. So I was like, okay, for sure I'll pick it up. I want to save it though. Obviously, League is loving it. It's sitting at a 25%, and it's the number 1 ranked book for the week thus far. Since we're on this page too, let's just go over the other ones. We have Absolute Superman number 8 as number 2. We have Incursion, Spider-Man Incursion is the number 3 spot. Absolute Green Lantern in the number 4 spot, and then number 5 is Ultimate Wolverine. So one of the weeks for every single one of the books I actually own, and we'll get to read them between today in the review and everything, and then the Omega run that comes out later this week, which is awesome. So I can actually kind of see where they all fall right now. I already know where my of the 5 favorites kind of rank, so we'll get through that as we get into the review. So I think that covers all of them on the polls. Like I said, kind of a disjointed week. Usually they're all just kind of on that page, and we just talk through it of here's what is going to be reviewed for this show and what's going to be coming up for an Omega run or a backlog, but it's a little more convoluted this week. And I imagine it's going to be as I start paring some of these books down, and then hopefully it kind of levels out and we're good to go from there. At least that's my vision anyways. So with that, we'll close this out here. Close out the polls, and we'll just go ahead and start to get into the reviews. So let me flip over to the main camera feed here. In this order, we'll be reviewing these books. Again, it's a hodgepodge of stuff. So we got stuff from the current week, we have stuff that was delayed that's in here, and then I think we have 1 or 2 backlogs as well. So in this order, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 1, we'll start with that. Then we'll go to Absolute Green Lantern number 3. Then we'll go with The Moon is Following Us number 10. Absolute Superman number 8. All New Venom number 7. Bitter Roots number 3. Peacemaker presents The Vigilante and the Eagly double feature. Sister Imperator number 3. The Avengers number 26. And then last but not least is going to be Minor Arcana number 7. So those are the books that we have as we jump into our review. Realized I didn't hit the sounder. And I've always been good with that sounder. But this is like the first one where I was late on the draw, I'm just like, okay, I didn't do an Omega. So I feel a little out of sorts, which doesn't make any sense at all. It's like you still do 2 podcasts per week. Instead of doing 3, you're doing 2. But maybe it's just having that midweek of like just keeping the muscle memory fresh in my mind. Who knows? I could just be completely making up stuff as well. So, but anyways, let's flip over to the, oh, you know what? I actually realized I didn't take any of these out of the sleeve this time. Man, I really am late on the draw, so I'll have to take those all out one by one because we need that as we flip through all of our books for the art. But on League here, so Spider-Man Incursion, number 1. I gave this a 4. League gave it a 3.7. I enjoyed the book. I was expecting maybe it to be a little bit better just because Camp did, or has been doing the Ultimates. Really been enjoying that issue or that run, which is kind of like the overarching, like here's all the stuff that's happening kind of at a higher level in the Ultimate Universe. And I really enjoy those. And then I think he also did the Nick Fury one as well, which was really, really good. So I was hoping for similar things here. I felt like for this, it very much is a Spider-Man book. So you're either into that or you're not. But what I mean by that when I talk about a Spider-Man book, we have Miles Morales. He's come through a portal. He's from a different universe, and he's from the same universe that the Maker is from. And he actually made an offer to Miles. Is like, hey, come join us. I want you to be part of this whole thing. Miles, of course, turns it down. But he leaves a business card with him that he threw in like a waste paper bin. So Miles is thinking on it. Then one night he goes to put down his like 9-month-old sister. She gets into the waste bin and then grabs the card and gets sucked into the universe that the Maker was pulled into, and that the whole place that the Ultimate Universe is taking place in now. And so with all of that, he is in New York. He meets up with our Ultimate Universe Spider-Man and his son, and Miles explains who he is, everything that's kind of happening and what's going on, and basically says, hey, my sister's here and I'm trying to find her. So, of course, Peter Parker and Richard, I believe is his son's name, they're going to go and try to help and find him. But the whole time it's just a bunch of banter and Peter feeling like a third wheel because Richard's like, oh my gosh, I love this Spider-Man. Look how cool he is. He's doing all this stuff. He's like younger and he seems like he actually knows what he's doing. And Peter's like, he's his dad, right? So he's feeling bummed out that he's no longer, I guess, his hero in a way. And so that's what I'd say like 50 to like 75% of this book is all about, of them just like going around trying to find the sister. And then, our present in-universe Spider-Man and son arguing with each other this whole time and like fanning out. So that was like, okay, I guess that's fine. Miles seems pretty disinterested about all this stuff. He's not digging this whole new universe because it's all weird and strange and bizarre to him, so that's fine. But as this all happens and an energy signature shows up onto the radar for the whole planet, of you have the same energy signature as the Maker because they're from the same universe. So at first everyone's like, oh shit, did the Maker, is he here early? Do we have to be after him? And so you have the Maker's council, his whole folks that are looking into it, and then of course you have the Ultimates that are looking into it as well. And so both sides like come to a realization that it's not him, right? Because basically the council has like a whole bunch of negative things that they think that could be happening. Is it an ally? Is it an assassin going after him? Is it some sort of weapon? Is it a tool? Like whatever it is, they want to go after it for control and power and things like that. And then the Ultimates are like, well, let's just go after it and see what it is. But they're convinced it's not the Maker because like Doom is straight up like, if it was the Maker, we'd all be dead by now. I was like, dang. That is heavy, putting those stakes up way high. So in all of that, it gets pretty late. Spider-Man and his son, who's now actually going by Venom, he's going to be the Venom in this universe because he's got the black suit and everything, and he likes the name Venom. So it's kind of funny how we're changing up the names and not going to be a villain for this one. And they go home. Miles is like, hey, it's my 9-month-old sister. I can't just go home and leave her. So I got to go and keep investigating. And then he runs into Giant Man and the Wasp, who basically capture him. Like, hey, we got a whole bunch of people looking out for you. And we're trying to figure out, you're trying to save this universe or you're trying to destroy this universe. And that's the cliffhanger. So, a nice little issue, but like, again, nothing too crazy that took place here. And it's very quippy, which sometimes I'm into, but I find more times than not, I'm not. So that's why I just kind of lowered it to a 4. 3.7 though feels a little bit harsh, but maybe it slips a little bit on the art side of things. Let's go ahead and take a peek at that real quick. So flipping through, It is a little different, I'd say, than what kind of your standard look is for the Ultimate Universe, but not that much different. So here they're fighting Spot. I think he either came in from a different universe or not, but he's very minor, and they take care of him pretty quickly. That's the reason I didn't even bring it up. But a majority of this is them just swinging throughout the city trying to find the sister and a whole bunch of the conversation that takes place there. You can see on the panels here, this is the council all trying to figure out, I want it, is effectively saying like they want to go after Miles and whatever this thing is that came in from a different universe. Then we have our Ultimates here talking about it and discussing. And then, of course, it all leads towards the very end here that has them running into Giant Man the Wasp. So, yeah, that is Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 1. Of course, I'll keep reading it. I think this is going to be really the last year of the Ultimates as it all is starting to come together and merge towards the end here. And this is going to be my first big alternate universe conclusion, because I don't see the absolute side on DC wrapping up anytime soon, but this is kind of the first step for this one wrapping up. So interested to see how that all ends up and where that all lands. So the next book that we have here is going to be Green Lantern number 3. And again, I didn't take these out of the cases like I usually do, so you're going to have to bear with me. If we flip over to League on this one, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. I thought that this was a pretty good follow-up of what's been happening thus far. So, again, I should have mentioned this up front. Again, I don't know why I feel so rusty by doing this stuff. It's only been a week. But all my reviews, I spoil the crap out of all these books, if you couldn't tell already from the Incursion side of things. But that's a number 1, so that's not too bad. But I'll catch you up to the story thus far. I will talk about major story beats. I really don't know how to review a book any other way. If you're not into that, this is just not going to be the podcast or the show for you. So I appreciate you giving it a click and understand why you're like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So to get back to the story for this, for the Green Lantern, right, it's a nice continuation because we're wondering what happened to John Stewart. It's been alluded to that he died in some way, shape, or form, and then we get right to it here in issue 3, which I really do like. So we find out exactly what happened after, what's his name in this? The villain here. I'm trying to look that up pretty quickly in my notes. I was just talking. Adbin Sur. I should have known that. I was like, is it Adin? No. Adbin Sur. So he crash landed onto Earth, has this whole big energy dome around this small little town, and all the citizens are trapped in there. At first he seems like, is it hostile? Is he not? He is hostile, and people can't get in and out of the city. They already saw a motorcycle like trying to drive through the city and hit the barrier and like completely explode into a million pieces. So that is no good. They all confronted Admin Sur, and then Admin started like judging them, and then he decided to judge this one, I guess, negatively and like cut off his arm. So, you know, it's very dangerous times. All the citizens have fled. They're back in their houses. Admin Sur is up around, just flying around, but he hasn't actually been causing a lot of trouble, but they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we get out of here? So you got John Stewart, you got Hal, and then you have, I forget the name of our cover person as well. But they are trying to figure out a way out. And John's like, okay, for some reason, I saw the motorcycle go through, and there's this piece of like almost like a hoop earring type deal on the ground. And so he thinks that somehow the motorcycle smashed into the wall, but the earring fell off and it went through the shield some way, somehow. That's the theory. So he goes and tests it out and he throws it through the shield, and sure enough, the earring goes through, no problem. So then he's like, okay, that's weird. So they try with another larger piece of plastic. It's like a toy plastic thing that you know, it's figurine or a little trophy that you win when you're playing, you know, rec soccer or something like that. They throw that through, and it makes a bigger hole into the force field. So it's like, okay, we have a good theory here, but these are plastic and they looked like gold. Let's get some actual gold. So they throw like a wedding ring and throw that through the force field, and it creates this huge hole opening. But it's temporary. It's like a couple seconds. So John's like, okay, now if we gathered everyone and maybe someone has a furnace, we melt all this down and we set up this big cube, we can then basically get it to the point where it's wide enough and people can go through and we can go and get help. Nobody's come to help them, not the National Guard, nobody, law enforcement or anything. They're actually wondering, it's like, okay, can people in the outside world even see that this is happening here, or is it like completely invisible? They don't fully know. So that's what they decide to do. When they concoct that plan, Abin Sur then shows up, and he does this thing where he's like judging, and processing, and he elects to just shoot John Stewart. So he shoots him, his whole body basically explodes, and that's it for him. He's dead. So that is how we know that he's died. So Hal, who has like kind of this like negative energy about her or him, and then our main character here, who seems like she's the Green Lantern, at some time in the future, they're still in the diner, they're fighting a little bit as well. Hal can't control what's happening, and so they're basically, it's like only a couple panels that fight actually takes place, but a lot of the story is just explaining why John is not the Green Lantern and what exactly happened to him. So that is basically the story and where it's at right now. The very end, I should say, is I think it's Hal putting together some bullets and painting them gold. Because as they went to fight Abin Sur, he has the same force field that's in front of him. So if we saw that the gold's, hoop earrings are able to go through, then maybe if these bullets are painted gold, you can shoot, can temporarily go through the force field, and then hit Abin Sur, whatever the case may be. So that is the actual cliffhanger that we're left off on. Let me flip over to the art here. Very good. All the absolutes have been very good on the art front. So I've been enjoying that a lot. Hear those conversations and trying to figure out, okay, what exactly is happening here. Then, we kind of do a time jump over to the fight that's taking place at the diner. Some of the back and forth there. Then we flip back over to figuring out the theory. So that's like the little figurine that they threw through the force field and see that they're able to get it to the other side. Here's the actual gold ring that was thrown, and that's able to create even a bigger force field. We can see at the top. This is when Abin Sur shows up. Judgment in progress, and vaporizes poor John Stewart. So he gone. Then try to shoot. He's got that same force field there, which then of course then leads to, all right, let's paint up these bullets gold, and then hopefully that can actually get through the force field. So that is Green Lantern number 3. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. I'd say you'd be okay jumping in here. It still is kind of like a big old mystery as to what's happening in the first place and how this has all happened. So I think you'd be fine if you jumped in here. The preference would be to just start from the first one, but you don't really miss too much because all of this is unfolding as we're reading through it, and you haven't missed a big chunk or a big piece at this point. So the next one that we have here is going to be The Moon is Following Us, number 10. We have the conclusion to this book. I thought this was going to be a tearjerker, and honestly, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. Very hard, at least what I've noticed, for books to land the plane when it comes to wrapping things up. There's a lot of questions that a lot of these books will, an exposition that will build out and things that you want to know more about. It's like they didn't wrap this up, they didn't wrap that up. I think they did a pretty good job here. So kudos to them for that. On top of that, I was satisfied as the reader of I feel like this is an appropriate way. And maybe the crushing part, but also the harsh reality, is we don't get everything that we want, which is good. I don't think happily ever after, we all made it out, everything's fine, is really the way to go in a majority of situations, although that tends to kind of be how it works out. And I'm glad that they took a risk here and they didn't do that, and it felt appropriate for everything that was at stake, and instead of hand waving all of that stuff away. So that's all good. And this is number 10. This is the last one, so you're going to get spoilers out the wazoo. Just keep that in mind. I can only go, so much in depth as far as the full story. We're going back 9 issues and then explaining this one. But basically, we have Penny. She's a young girl. She went to bed one day, and then she never woke up. And she's been in this deep coma-like sleep for months and months and months. Western medicine can't figure it out. We have this random weird Sherpa guy, Tosh, that shows up, says, hey, no Western medicine is going to figure this out, but I know how to. basically we got to go into her dreams. There's something in her dreams that's keeping her asleep. It's this enemy demon thing called the Cascade, and it's manipulating her dreams and her nightmares. And so we first are working with her dreams and the things that she loves to try to fight the Cascade. That's not really working. Then we start working with her nightmares. That does start to work and start to repel. But you come to find out that the Cascade is really a manifestation of the parents and their worst nightmares. So for the mother, her name is Sam. It was mostly her mom. And for the father, his name is Duncan. It was like a sexual predator, sexual assault that he had to deal with as a child. And they were able to help fight that through and defeat those demons or enemies, the Cascade. Penny has finally woken up, and now we're at the point where we're trying to escape. In the last issue, Duncan basically sacrificed himself in order for Penny and Sam to get to like the place of where they can basically escape now. So in this issue, we pick back up where we left off, and we're at the precipice of escape. Duncan seems like he's dead. The Cascade had this deal with Tosh. Tosh has a daughter who's going through a similar situation. He basically tricked Sam and Duncan, and now he's trying to siphon their life into his daughter and then bring her back. And that was basically how the Cascade said that's how it's got to work. But he had his end of the deal as well. And basically that end of the bargain was, hey, I get to consume Penny's like full mind or dreams. It wasn't really fully spelled out, but that's what it's alluded to. And so the head demon of the Cascade is like, I gotta collect now because she's about to leave. And Tosh was like saying no, like please don't. But it was too late. He already started to like consume the entire reality. Tosh is like his like little skin starts to like melt off and like get sucked into the Cascade demon. The girl seems to be fine. I really don't know what'll be later, but she's able to survive all this. But Penny they're up on this cliff. The Cascade and Tosh were down on this platform that was way further down, but start like pulling in everything. So Penny's like getting sucked in. Sam is holding her hand, and Penny's like, just let me go, just let me go. Mom's like, we just went on this whole journey just to wake you up, and like you're awake now, I'm not letting you go now. She's like, you need to trust me. And I don't know what it is, but Sam decides to trust her. So Penny falls down and she gets consumed by the Cascade. But it's her dream world, right? And so it's her dream technically. So she's the hero in her dream as she wants to be. So she transforms into this crazy superhero as only you can imagine like a 6-year-old girl doing, and just starts going around and like blasting as though she's like a combination of Superman and Iron Man, just destroying everything and killing this demon. And so she's able to like split a hole in reality like she's America Chavez or something, and then pushes her mother through. But her father is like dead and like basically sacrificed himself. Somehow she's able to find her father deep in her mind and brings him out as well. But the damage has kind of been done on here, and it's been very permanent. So he's able to come out, but he's extraordinarily weak coming out. I think they're able to get the other girl out as well. Again, it's not fully explained exactly how that all happened. But they go all about living on their lives. But Duncan, because so much was taken from him and then pulled from his life, then given over to the other girl, that he ends up getting really sick and he ends up dying shortly thereafter. It looked like Penny grew up a little bit in that time, like a couple of years. So, I'd call it like 5 to 7 years extra that they got rather than like living out the full kind of lifespan. So they, start, have the whole hospital scene, and he's all there and basically just saying his kind of dying words. He's like, anytime that you miss me, just look at the moon and know that the moon is following you, just like I'm looking down at you. And that's why it's called The Moon is Following Us. That's like the tearjerker part, I think, of the whole thing. Very good, very touching, very well done. The whole mystery throughout this was really well executed and laid out. Each issue felt like we got enough of the story to where, okay, cool, that satisfies a little bit, but I'm still interested and I want to know more. And this fully comes out in trades. An awesome, really good, complete story, I'd say. Really one of the shining points of this year is The Moon is Following Us from Image. This is going to be more than likely top 5 books of the year, I would say. I don't see it getting knocked off of that. Top 10, 100%. So a contender for that. That's taking a little something from Kind of Funny. Shout out to Andy Cortez. So they do top 10 on video games. So anything that's in the top 10. So a contender. I'm just going to take it as well. So this is a contender for sure as top 10, but it's likely going to be top 5. So I do highly recommend. Again, this particular issue, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.6. So you can see, like, it's just really well done. So let's flip over to the art. So you can see everything here. Awesome pages, awesome panels. This is the full spread that you get when Penny turns into the superhero that she is, and she starts flying around and doing a whole bunch of, Superman, Iron Man stuff, which is totally dope and awesome. Able to defeat the Cascade. Here's where Duncan is and everything, and then she's able to break him out, pulls him through the portal, but again, he is super weak after all that, and this is basically them trying to live out their lives. So Penny looks a little bit older here, and then when we get to the point where he's in the hospital, like, she's on a cell phone and stuff, so she's definitely older, like, maybe like 14 or something like that. Tough to tell here. So chances are I might be following you anytime you see the moon. So when you think of me, look up. Chances are I might be following you. Thus, the moon is following us. Oh, man, so fitting. So good. Very well done. Bravo. I do highly recommend the series if that wasn't made clear already. Let's flip over to the next one here. We have Absolute Superman number 8. The nice thing about this book is it is a brand new story and arc that starts here. New story here. So is this the time to jump in on this book? Obviously, yes. This would be a really good time. Let's flip over to League so you guys can take a peek there. I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.2. Really enjoyed this story. I love the duality that you have going on here and where they're taking this alternate universe book, right? The Absolute Universe is an alternate reality for the Trinity. We have Superman, we have Wonder Woman, we have Batman, but now obviously we have Green Lantern, we have Martian Manhunter, which is incredible on the art side of things, and then we have Flash as well. So now we have 6 books in total. We started off though with the Trinity. This book here, we have Lois Lane here, and then we have the Omega Men on this side. Not really sure who this guy is, and if they've mentioned it, I've totally forgot, but it doesn't necessarily matter. But these two characters, and I realize I'm pointing at the screen, and I didn't flip over. These two characters here are on two opposite sides of this political conflict, if you will. You have the Lazarus Corporation, which effectively owns everything. They're the empire, if you will. And then the Omega Men are the rebels, if we're doing a Star Wars analogy. Obviously, they hate each other and despise each other. And you got Superman kind of stuck in the middle here trying to do his best. This issue at this point is taking place in Smallville. First 7 issues basically explains how Superman got here in the first place and his origin story, which is slightly different than it is before. And explains, hey, the whole family, they were trying to get off of this dying planet that they knew that was dying. As they got off, everyone died in the evacuation, and Kal-El was the only one that was able to get off the planet. Now that that's all been established and explained, we have Lois, who actually is working for the corporation, and she's pretty high up. Her father is like a general that's retired and like sacrificed a lot of his limbs in a big old fight, so he's like decorated out the wazoo. Family means a lot in this corporation and in the business. Then we have the Omega Man. He's like a new recruit, and their whole thing is they're trying to stop the corporation. So Superman meets up with Lois rather than her being a reporter. At first she started going after him. Now she's seeing that, like, hey, there's something different about him. We need to protect him, preserve him. He could be the one that, stops all this madness, as she's opening her eyes to see that Lazarus is pretty terrible. And of course the Omega Men see that him as, their savior. They're Luke Skywalker, basically. So they both tracked Superman down to Smallville, where he was trying to reconnect with his mother, I think, was dying, and then I think he was just bummed out on like everything that was happening in the world. As they both meet up with Superman, they start arguing, of course, of, no, come with me because we're trying to liberate it. No, come with me because, we have the resources where we can be able to figure this out, and we can, bust this up from the inside out. And in all that argument, the Lazarus corporations, they send out their peacemakers and track down Superman, and so then the fighting begins. the Peacemaker in a couple issues back that killed a whole bunch of civilians. He was rewarded and promoted within and like given all these augmentations. So he's the one kind of leading the squadron as they're all going after them. And he shoots Superman with a sniper and it hits him. And it's very obvious to us, but the other two don't know. It's a Kryptonian bullet. It's green, goes through, and it pierces him. So Lois and this Omega Man, they have like no idea what the heck is going on here. They're like, man, we've seen him like bounce bullets off him like it's nothing. We don't get it. And the Peacemaker and his squad, they start tracking him down as Lois and the Omega Man, they move him to a different area. So in this Absolute series, the suit is also like a character as well. It's basically like a generative AI type deal, and it's talking to him very similar to Jarvis is for Iron Man, and trying to do, you know, a whole bunch of calculations and remove the bullet, but it's Kryptonian, so it's like not super easy to do in order to remove it, but they do get to a place where he's able to remove it. And I guess this cape also has a nice trick up its sleeve. It has this auxiliary power as well, so that engages and that takes place. So Superman gets up and he starts fighting off this Peacemaker guy, and the Peacemaker guy has another trick up his sleeve as well. He reloads with more of those Kryptonian bullets, and so he shoots 2 more times. Superman gets hit, so now the reserve energy is completely depleted, and Superman is now down, and like, crap, what do we do? So the Omega Man's like, I got an idea. I can hail my people, and they can set up a portal, and we can then bring him back in. And like, that's the only way we can do it. He's bleeding out. We don't know what's going on. So that's what they decide to do, and they're able to extract Superman and get him out. And there's some reinforcements there. They don't allow Lois to go, obviously. She's with the Empire. So like, you guys stay. You're just coming with us. So, you know, they lay the suppressing fire. They get Superman out. And then he goes through the portal. And that leaves Lois there with the rest of the Peacemakers. And she looks like this, you know, big betrayer, effectively. During this scuffle, while all of this is taking place, and Superman's been shot a couple times, that Peacemaker goes up to shoot Superman in the head. And it's actually Brainiac that stops him from doing it, because specifically it's Ra's al Ghul, who's the head of this Lazarus Corporation, wanted Superman alive. And he could have killed him right there, and it's actually Brainiac that saves him, which is so wild. If you know anything about, you know, Superman as a backstory, it's insane that that's the character that saves him, right? It's like just as crazy as if Lex Luthor saves him, which actually did happen in The Last Days of Lex Luthor. If you're interested in reading that, and sorry, spoiler alert for that if you just caught a stray on that, that is my bad. Maybe I should take that out. But yeah, this is, it's an awesome book. Really fun. The cliffhanger is guns drawn now in Lois. Superman's shot and injured, and it looks like he's not going to be able to make it. And then you have this Peacemaker that's, I don't know if he was like taken out dead, or if he was just like a shock to like make sure that he's not going to pull the trigger and actually kill Superman. So really good book. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. Of course, this is the place to start. And so with all this being said, this is the comic of the week. In my opinion, thus far, I haven't read Imperial yet, so we'll see if that surpasses it. But again, Superman was ranked at number 2, so I could see for sure it could be number 1. If you've been watching or listening for a while, you'll know that actually more times than not, I feel like my pick is not whatever the rest of the league has taken. It's usually something else. I will say usually on the list, but it's something else on there. Like, for example, you had Wolverine as number 5. There have been many a times when I voted Wolverine as number 1, and it hasn't been number 1. So it actually could be Wolverine. That's the best. I haven't read that one yet either. But for this issue, for sure, it is Absolute Superman. Number 8 is the comic of the episode. Again, I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.2. So with that, the next book... Oh, no. I'm sorry. I forgot to go through the art. Let's go and do that real quick. Show it all off. I was like, I'm missing a step here. Again, we have the Absolute Universe, a very similar art style, I would say, to the Green Lantern as well. Just very realistic, high level of saturation, great detail that you have on like the armor, and then here are like all the different weapons that are very futuristic, and like the cables and cords coming out of all of them. These are the augmentations that are in that particular Peacemaker that got promoted. And then we have some of the fighting that takes place here, and here's where Superman goes into that like overdrive, right? And then the cape kind of takes over, and it's like a auxiliary suit almost. pretty cool. So yeah, it's a great issue. Great issue. Great time to jump in. Absolute Universe has been killing it. It's a good time. It's a good time to be into comics. That is for sure. So, sorry about that. Now let's flip over to our next book, which is All New Venom number 7. And reminder, this book is going to be the last one that I pick up for this series.
Yeah, no thanks. Thanks.
So yeah, it's I don't know. It's an interesting book. If I pull up the share screen here, I actually thought it picked up a little bit, but not quite enough to fully save it for me taking the whole thing. So it is a yeah, no thanks. I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.6. This book, the cover, first of all, is pretty awesome, right? You got the Venom and anti-Venom on both sides, the duality. That's pretty nice and neat. But it's still pretty confusing as to what all is going on here. I'll do my best to summarize it, but again, I'm not continuing with it, so bear that in mind as my brain is still trying to figure out what all is happening here. So we have Dylan Brock, who's the son of Eddie Brock. He's trying to figure out who the Venom is. We now know it is MJ. She's the Venom after the gang wars that took place. Thought it could be her, could be Luke Cage, it could be Madame Mask, it could be Robbie and Robert Peterson, I think is his name. Can you imagine if it was Robert Pattinson? Oh my gosh, the reveal, the shock. No, it is not our Twilight vampire. It is ends up being MJ. So that is who is our Venom, and Dylan is still trying to figure it all out. Then we have this like anti-Venom group that's like trying to go after this Venom as well. So they're trying to contain symbiotes because there's this big danger to society. So now that MJ knows, and we have the anti-Venom who was looking after Dylan for a minute, but then decided that Dylan needed to be part of MJ's household, and Paul is the name of her boyfriend, and so they like kind of pseudo adopted him, and he's been living there. He wants to figure out who it is, so he wants to go and stake out this place. Meanwhile, MJ and the anti-Venom guy are trying to figure out, what they're going to do next. So they kind of create this play fight, and the reason they do that is because someone else is then supposed to go into the symbiote lab area that's trying to stop the symbiotes and either free them or figure out what their master plan is. So it's actually Robbie who turns into like Agent Venom, and then he goes in, but it's actually Otto Octavius who's there to try to stop him, right? So like you see how I'm just saying a whole bunch of words and it's very confusing, and you're like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's been this book, really, in a nutshell. So the only reason I thought I was going to save it is like everything that was leading up to the point of like, okay, why is Robbie then going in? Because he doesn't necessarily know that anti-Venom is part of all this with Agent Venom. It's like, it's so confusing. So that's why we're stopping it. I just wasn't truly enjoying it, and I just kept picking up the book just to be picking up the book, right? Just to be a completionist, just to have it on the list. I started it, damn it, I'm going to finish it. That mentality. And I'm stopping that because there's no reason to at this stage of the game, right? It's not like I got a crazy, huge followership that's like, oh my gosh, I'm so engaged in this book, you have to finish it. So I'm just brute forcing it just because I want to be a completionist. And it's a tough thing to get out of that mentality because you want to just have the full collection, right? I think that's something innately we all want. I think that's a lot of the reason that people don't want to jump into comics in the first place is like, where the hell do you begin on all this craziness? But just like me, and just like literally everyone else, you just start reading. And then you find something and you latch onto it. And if you want to go back, you can go back. There's so many resources to where you can do it. And then the same thing goes for here. So I don't have to keep, buying, $4.99. It's an extra $1 as well for this as well. So I stopped it here. Again, I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.6. There's not much more you need to know here. I'm stopping here. It's not really a time to jump in. I'd say probably the previous issue would have been the one if you're really interested, but obviously I'm not giving the greatest review in the world, as you can tell. But let's show off the art since we're at it. very Marvel esque, as you can imagine. Nothing crazy that's going on here. Very standard Marvel. I'd say a lot of text too, and that's probably why they're charging you that extra $1. Like, look at the text on those text bubbles. But that's, fine and all well. So it is what it is there. But here's, where the symbiotes are going after him. So you got some decent action scenes here. And then where they break into the symbiote lab. And then that's where Octavius is revealed. So yeah, all new Venom. It is the end for this one. So thank you, but no thank you. Moving on. Next book, Bitter Roots, which has been an interesting series. If you're into Sinners by Michael B. Jordan, this is definitely going to be the book for you. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. I feel like Lee has been a lot higher on this book than I've been. Premise here is we have a group in the Bureau, like the FBI basically, that is after a whole bunch of extraterrestrial style aliens called the Jinyu that have been attacking people of color. And it's been all across the country. This is taking place during the Civil Rights era. And the whole claim is this Bureau and it's all black people going after these extraterrestrial style alien things, have been doing this for decades upon decades. But the actual FBI and the government is saying that the Jinyu don't exist anymore. These attacks that people are claiming are still happening are not Jinyu, it's something else. There hasn't been a confirmed Jinyu attack in decades, and anything that you hear about it is just not true. So it's a big old misinformation thing. This whole Bureau is like, yes, it is. We're hunting them down. We see them. We have the evidence. Like, just believe us. So that way we can put it out there. But basically the FBI is saying, like, there's no such thing, right? Just like aliens right now is, Area 51, 52, whatever the case is. And, like, are there aliens? Are there not? Who knows? Same thing that's basically happening here in this fictional world. So if I flip over here to the main feed, the review of this book, we had another issue or incident take place in Alabama where we had a bunch of freedom riders that were going to march at some place. The bus is attacked. The attack looks insane and heinous, and they're like, this has to be a Jinyu attack. Like, what else could it possibly have been? It's not a car accident or anything like that. So some of the folks from the Bureau, they head down and investigate. We got 2 different squads. One that's going directly onto the scene and investigating, and they run into the Jinyu very quickly. And then the other that's kind of handling a lot of the political side of the stuff, like the local law enforcement and all that. And it's very racially tense, this whole book, which is really the point. During the Civil Rights era, everyone in the Bureau is black. They're going to the South in Alabama. You can imagine where this is going, and it does go there. So just trying to work out through all the political stuff. So the folks of the Bureau of, the extraterrestrial part, they also are paired up with kind of standard FBI agents as well. It's 2 partners, one who is from the South, so he seems like he's a bit racist, and then the other one who's like from the North, and he's younger, and he's like, I could be Jinyu, could not be Jinyu. If I'm just using intellect, it's like, it's got to be Jinyu. So let me see if I can convince my partner. So we get to this issue. It's just more convincing that's trying to go on. The younger partner finally just rides alone with his FBI partner, and he's like, dude, it's Jinyu. Like, it's got to be. Just be open-minded about it. And the older guy, he's fought the Jinyu in the past, too, so he knows that it's a thing, but he's still like, no, we say it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Like, okay, whatever. Then we're introduced to a different character that's from the Bureau, Dr. Sylvester. And this guy's an OG. So he's an older gentleman. He's been in the Bureau forever, been fighting the Jinyu forever. His whole philosophy about going and taking these guys out is very different. So the Jinyu are still like kind of human, and you can still bring them back to being human. Dr. Sylvester doesn't give a shit. He's going in and he's killing every single motherfucker that's out there. He does not care. He's just killing them all left, right, and center. Whereas some of these guys are like, hey, we know that they've been transformed. Like, we can save them somehow, some way, somehow. And Dr. Sylvester's like, I don't care about that. Like, So Sylvester, they all meet up, and the rest of the bureau is like, it's always him. Like, he just makes things even worse for us, because then we had to explain this to the white people. Like, we got this one guy who's Rambo, and our whole agenda is this, and you also have the political thing of like the Jinyu don't exist. So if you go in and you're shooting like crazy, like that's not a good look, right? Just for political correctness or whatever. So Sylvester's like, okay, screw you guys. I'm going deeper and I'm hunting even further because we know there are more out there. And I'm like, well, there's only so much we can do about him. So we get towards the end of the book, and it's the two FBI agents. They get to the same part where Dr. Sylvester is, and he finds another Jinyu, and he's actually trying to help this Jinyu out because I guess he started to already transform back into a human. So the FBI agent, the one that's been like pseudo-racist and thinks that the Jinyu doesn't exist, he then suddenly is going to help and realizes like, okay, I was wrong, but then he gets shot. And he turned around, and it's actually the local law enforcement, the Alabama cops, that then shoot him. And somehow this is like an inside job, and they shoot him multiple times, and it's led to believe that he's dead here. And like, how is Dr. Sylvester and the rest of them going to be able to get out of this? Wild story. So yeah, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. If you're really into like kind of this like supernatural stuff, like, this is where it's at. The art is pretty cool. So, I mean, look at how much of a badass Dr. Sylvester is, right? He's just, he looks like Bishop, if you guys are familiar on the X-Men side of things. But, he's just armored up with this cool gun, like big muscles, but he's like older. He's like 60-something years old. So, a bunch of, kind of dialogue going through here, and like, just talking through the Jinyu. This is where Dr. Sylvester basically goes off on his own and tries to Rambo it, going deeper in and taking more of these things out. He just has a very different perspective on all this. It's like, we can't be messing around. So here is where the younger FBI agent's trying to convince the older one of like, hey, here's all the craziness that's happening. And this is where Sylvester is trying to help his own guy who like got turned into the Jinyu, who looks like he's turning back. But as they're doing that, boom, gets shot right there by the local law enforcement, and that's where it's revealed here. And then he gets like shot like multiple times as well. So it's like, okay, where's this all going to go from here? Is this some kind of crazy big conspiracy cover-up that's going on? It's a lot of cool stuff that's happening here. It's been an interesting book. I'm definitely going to stick with it. All of these League has been like closer to the 4.5s. I've been more in the 4 ranges, I think, for most of them. Actually, let's flip over to it real quick and see where have I been. 4 for the previous one. 4 is across the board. But the first one, Lee gave it a 4.4. Second one, Lee gave it a 4.5. And then the third one, a 4.3. And I've been 4s across the board on it. Either way, it's a very good book. I've been enjoying it. I do recommend it. Something interesting that I learned about League, too, is... not League, Image. So the... manager of our shop, he's looking to create a book of his own. And with that, they're very close to being able to submit to a bunch of publishers. And for the publishers, he's basically like, you have all the independents and stuff where you can work for the big 2. And then you have Image. And Image is actually kind of different. The way that Image works is like the others will take solicitations. Image basically reaches out to you and is like, hey, do you want to do a book? And they give you a crazy amount of creative freedom to basically do whatever you want. And with that, you're basically on your own to make something that's whatever you want. Image will just basically put its name on it, but then you get a higher piece of the split because you're handling a majority of the creative process. So the way he was explaining it is newer people that are trying to get into the industry, artists and writers and, the lettering and the coloring, they are work for the big 2 or they work for some other independents. And then when they start to get a name for themselves and they get a following and people, really are enjoying their books, that's when they'll go and do something that's like their own independent project that's on Image. So that, when I read that and have it under my lens now of like, oh, this is what this is about. This is someone's like pet project, basically. This isn't like some big old thing that someone put out there. And when you do that on Image, like you have to pay a lot of money if you want it to be marketed. It's like tens of thousands of dollars. It's a big, heavy lift. So there's like a way to do it in comics where it's like you can go broke, but then there are other ways to like, kind of work your way up, make your name, and then you put something on Image, and then hopefully you got that following that just brings you in there. I tell you, I learned something new about the industry pretty much every time I go into the shop, and then I love just putting that stuff onto the podcast when it makes sense, so which is so cool. Anyways, that was a big ol' detour there. Let's bring it on back to the next review. So we have Peacekeeper presents the Vigilante / Eagly double feature number 3. Every time I talk about this one, it is just such a mouthful. But after this, we just have 4 more books. Let's go over to the share screen. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.9. So, right in line there. That all makes sense. Remember, for this book, we basically have 2 different stories that are coinciding, right? A double feature, as they say. So the Vigilante is one side. He is basically going after Peacemaker. He's his friends. He called him up, wanted to hang out. Peacemaker lied and basically said, oh, I'm not there. And Vigilante has a very, very tough time as to understanding what anyone is truly saying, and just takes everything literally. And so he was like, I think you're captured. Is that the case? And he's like, yeah, I am, and I gotta go. But it's not that he was captured. He was going on vacation with his pet eagle up to Alaska. So Vigilante is under the impression that he's been captured, and he's got these suspects. They've been going after them. And now in this issue, he knows who the gang is. He's very, very adamant on keeping his secret identity the whole time. So that's a lot of part of this book. And then he gets to the place where this gang is trying to do this deal of some sort of nature. He crashes it, and then a whole bunch of fighting ensues. A lot of this is just a bunch of cursing and very crude and mature humor the whole time. Some of it lands, some of it I'm like, man, this is pretty corny. Humor can be tough, right? It's whatever your cup of tea is. If you like that super raunchy innuendo type stuff, that's what this is. But for me, I just don't think they're doing it as tastefully as maybe it could be. The last Peacemaker issue on the Black Label was so good. All the jokes landed for me. This one is just the Vigilante side of stuff. It really is not, unfortunately. And that's half the book, right? But we're close to the end here, 3 of 5. So this is another one. I probably should just drop it, but I'm just going to finish it. I'll just be honest with you. But I probably should. The Eagly side of things. So again, Peacemaker and Eagly are going out on a vacation. Their airplane was shot down. Basically, it's a bunch of these ninjas that they have this, I think it's an initiation where they go and they hunt down a whole bunch of civilians as their last test before they can join the group. And so that is what's happened, and now Peacemaker is trying to defend everyone from them. So they're working their way through the woods. Of course, more and more of these assassins are showing up, and then Peacemaker's trying to create all these diversions and take out these assassins, and he does, and he's successful a little bit until he's finally shot. No, he's not shot, he's stabbed in the back, and it looks like he's going to be gravely wounded and injured, and it's oh boy, how the rest of these civilians going to get out of here? And that's the cliffhanger that we're left on there. So yeah, the book's fine, both of them. Art style's fine. It's not a big recommend. It is unfortunately another Black Label that ends up being a miss. So this is all the Vigilante side of things, and he's flirting with a waitress that doesn't realize who exactly he is, the fighting that ensues and takes place there, and then we go to the Eagly side of things, and then Peacemaker, they're working their way through and trying to fight off as many of these bad guys as they can. Maybe they're a little successful, maybe not, and then we finally get to the end here, where Peacemaker is stabbed at the back, and it's not looking so good for him. So we'll see how all of that goes and where it heads to next. I don't know if I would fully endorse it and recommend it at this point. Let's see. I gave the other one, issue 2, a 3.5, and then the first one I liked a lot, so I gave it a 4.5. Lee only gave it a 3.8 though. 3.8, 3.9, 3.9. So kind of keep that in mind. But if you're looking for something on the raunchier side, Black Label, right, is going to be more of the mature content. Maybe give it a go. But truthfully, there's better stuff out there. So with that, we'll flip to the next one. Sister Imperator number 3. This was it was weird. It was delayed, even though it kind of wasn't. It's a bizarre one. So I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave it a 3.8. It's kind of a weird book at this point. Things are getting kind of bizarre here. But basically we have Sister Imperator. She had a boyfriend that she broke up with, and she's trying to go after these clergymen that abused her and killed her twin sisters when she was younger. She left and escaped, went to Europe, joined this whole circus. That's where she found her boyfriend and like a family that took care of her, but she did a whole bunch of like crazy stuff on the side. Like she was like straight up a prostitute and like had to do all this stuff to get money. Left that life behind. They came back to America for an opportunity after the circus, I think, burned down or something like that. And there she meets up and sees that this clergy of this guy that was like her stepfather, and it's like, I need to go after him. And wasn't able to get after him, but took out somebody who was also like sexually abusing children, is what it looked like. Or if it wasn't children, it was sex trafficking in general. So she took out that guy. So now it's kind of on a mission to go after like all these sexual abusers. And she actually meets up with her boyfriend again. He's a musician. They decide to create some sort of pact of like, let's try to make this thing work. Since he's a musician, she's like, we can create music that attracts basically these weirdos and these creeps. Like we set up this vibe for it and like create these lavish parties. She'll go and recruit these girls and then make it like a honeypot as to where people will show up and then try to do something, almost like a Dateline type deal. And then she'll go and take them out. So they do that for a while. It seems to work out. It's tough to tell. Maybe they have this side deal where they both kind of go off and are cheating a little bit, but I can't tell if like they're actually supposed to be doing that or not. It's not extraordinarily clear. She decides to break it off with him, but she's pregnant. She has twins, very similar to the twin sisters that she had that died, but now she's on her own. And I'm like, why did you break up? It doesn't make any sense. This is like a Vietnam era, so maybe it's a little easier, but I doubt it, right? She's being a single mom of 2 kids. So she's like trying to figure all that stuff out in the end. So she decides to go back to Europe and to the circus, drops her kids off there in order to continue to pursue taking out all these guys, but now has this empty void because she basically left her kids. Odd move, doesn't make a lot of sense. That is the book. It's kind of weird. So that's why it's a 3.5. It's a little bizarre. But let's flip over to the art side of stuff. This is like that paper too that I'm not a big fan of. It's almost like a newspaper style. You can see pretty bloody here. This is basically where they decide, hey, we're going to come up with this crazy idea to attract all these weirdos, and that's what they do. But this is him like kind of screwing around with other people, and then they decide, they're going off, killing a whole bunch of people. They're doing their Bonnie and Clyde style thing. But she basically decides shortly after this, hey, I'm going to break it off. She has got those twins, and then she just can't handle it. Goes back to the circus, drops them all off, and then she's off doing her whole thing again, trying to figure out what's next. So that's the book. Do I recommend it? It's only 4, so we got one more that's coming up after this. Honestly, I think it's a pass from Dark Horse, to be honest with you. Most of these have been in like kind of the 3s. I've just been sticking with it because it's a 4-parter. It's a Dark Horse. So it's like, okay, let's throw that on there, see how it goes. But bit of a miss in my opinion. So that is Sister Imperator number 3. I gave it a 3.5. Lee gave that a 3.8. The next one we have up here is Avengers 26. So this is going to be our second to last review. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. A little surprised that Lee was that far down on it, but I do kind of get it. Not a super strong issue, I'd say, overall on the Avengers. And it's kind of weird because, it says up top there that it's, one world under doom, but it really isn't. It's just kind of Sam Wilson's little adventure here in the Impossible City. So I can't catch you up on the full thing because there's just way too much that's taking place. But right now, the event that's going on in Marvel, outside of the Ultimate Universe and like kind of the standard universe 616, is the one world under Doom. So Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme. He's taken over the whole world, and he's the leader of the world as the Sorcerer Supreme, right? So effectively Doctor Strange for those that don't know. And with all of that, there's this big battle that's going back and forth on, are they going after Doom or are they not? Sam Wilson was gravely hurt, so he's sent back to the Impossible City, which is like this huge flying, think of like those Imperial ships from Star Wars that's above Earth, to get his wounds all patched up. But while they're doing that, there's this group called the Masters of Evil. Is that what they're called? Let me pull that up real quick. I should know that. Yes, the Masters of Evil. So they knew that the Avengers are away. They're like, let's sneak onto the ship. And so they did. And when they did that, infected the ship with a virus. So now the ship was like in its kind of like a humanoid form, but it can't rejoin with the rest of the ship. And so in this humanoid form, which is like kind of like a plastic, it's able to mold itself. And it creates this crazy suit that you see here. So he's like, Sam is wearing the ship AI effectively. So think of it like a Jarvis Iron Man suit that he's wearing. And he's trying to fight off the Masters of Evil. Last issue, he got one of them. I think we still have like 3 more left. So in this one, he goes and he's mostly fighting Dread Knight. And Dread Knight is like a pretty powerful dude. So he's got to have to play this like a cat and mouse game. But while this is taking place, they're mostly using it as a distraction. And so that way, the ship, Impossible City, can get to a port, and he can open up a portal to the Black Panther. So Black Panther is on the ship, but he's in like this artifact thing from it's not the Enclave, it's from something else basically, but it was something the Ashwin Conclave, it's something like that, or Covenant. But anyways, it's this prison that's in this like tiny little artifact realm that Black Panther was sent in on the solo mission to liberate it, basically, from all these things that are being tortured by one of these prime evils, basically. And so Black Panther, that was many issues ago. I want to say it was like 5 or 6. And that's what the Impossible City decides to do. So it's able to get him out, and the big reveal at the end is that he was able to get Black Panther out, and he's going to be able to support Sam Wilson here. So to wrap that all up in a sentence, it's a cat and mouse game. Sam Wilson's trying to fight Dread Knight. He looks like he's going to be beaten, and then we have Black Panther coming in for the support, and then probably in the next issue is where all this will wrap back up, and then we'll be back to One World Under Doom, wrapping up that event, probably heading into the next one, would be my guess. So let's flip into the art. Pretty decent here. I think overall some of the good stuff. So that's Dread Knight. That's one of the Masters of Evil. He's like kind of like the main one. That is an ad. And then, yeah, as we flip through, it's basically the city, Sam Wilson flying through, and trying to distract them as much as it can. You have Dread Knight here on like an evil undead Pegasus. Like, let's go. That's freaking awesome. Sam's kind of flying through, and then eventually he does get to the port where he's able to get everything going there. So Master Hyde here, who's part of the Masters of Evil as well. So Sam's not looking too good here, but then that's where we get Black Panther right there, who's able to get out and support Sam Wilson in the fight. So that's the Avengers number 26. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 3.8. This is part 2 of this conflict, so you probably want to go back to 25, maybe even go back to 24 if I'm thinking of it correctly. I think 24 actually might be better. If you can find that, that's where I would start on this one. So next up, and the last book that we have here is going to be Minor Arcana number 7 from Boom Studios. This is a crazy one. Just when I think like, man, this is kind of boring and lame, like I think I'm off this, then they come and they do some crazy twist towards the end here. So I gave it a 4.5. Lee gave it a 4.2. Very good book that we have going here. Most of this issue is Teresa, who is our main character here. To the main camera. Teresa is our main character, and Brad. So Brad is married to Teresa's ex-girlfriend back when they were in like high school. So I guess Brad's wife and Teresa's ex is bi. They were dating for a while and then married Brad, and they have a pretty young kid as well. Brad's a police officer, if you couldn't tell. And Teresa, she's come back to town. Her mother, she's got cancer, but she's like the town psychic, if you will. And Teresa's starting to realize that she kind of has like actual legitimate psychic powers and has been trying, not even trying, but has been helping people almost unintentionally with whatever they're kind of struggling with. So she seems like she wants to lean into it a little bit further. Brad takes her out on like a mission, quote unquote, trying to figure out what this symbol is. And she doesn't really know. But a lot of the story for this book is just the dialogue going back and forth of like how awkward things were before. Teresa, I think it was issue 3 or 4, shows up at the house like completely plastered where they have a kid and just like, just doing all the drunk stuff of like why we couldn't make everything work. And Brad's like, yeah, you can't do that. A, I'm a police officer. B, this is my house. And C, that's my wife. Like there's a whole bunch of things that are wrong with you doing that. So obviously that's a no-go. And so of course this is super awkward, but they work on patching it up. Teresa is like kind of standoffish and like bad attitude about a whole bunch of stuff, blames the world for everything that's been going on, but they get to a place where it seems like they're on pretty good page. And so Brad is about to drop off Teresa, and when he's about to do that, then Teresa shakes his hand and she sees his future. And this is where stuff gets crazy. She sees that Brad gets shot some way somehow and is like left dead on the side of the road. So it's just like an instant handshake, then let's go. And Brad's like, whoa, like, what was that? And Teresa's like, nothing. I can't talk about it, and then just leaves. And Teresa's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what to do about this. But then the very, very end is now it's revealed that there is some sort of secret society. And they're like, yeah, the girl in that weird Oregon town, she's going to be a problem. And then that's how it ends. I was like, oh, snap. This book is wild. So it's pretty insane. The more you read, the more it's like, all right, this just seems like a day in the life, like kind of minor stuff, like minor Arcana, like truly just a small town thing. And now it's like truly opening up. Man, interesting stuff we got going here. Let's flip it to the art. This is the one that's more of like the pastel, almost like a watercolor type of paint. You know what? It's maybe even not water. It's like color pencil. That's the way to describe it. Color pencil is really it. But you can see kind of what I mean when I say like the watercolor too, a little bit as well, if you're on the YouTube. But the art is like nothing crazy, and it is more about the dialogue that's doing more of the servicing here. You also have, some of the side characters too. They're like meeting up with old friends and things like that, which is fine. But yeah, that's the part where Brad is like shot dead, and Teresa's like, "What the f? Like, I can't deal with all of this." But at the very end here's like the society thing, and they're all like meeting up, like, "Yeah, this girl's gonna be a problem." And here's basically the symbol that they had going here the whole time. So, Minor Arcana, man, it's an interesting book. Definitely sticking with it. It's been nominated for a bunch of Eisners, and from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, the Eisner is like the big award in the comic space, right? That is your Oscar, your Tony, your Emmy. That's what the Grammy. It's the Eisner for comic books. So I think it's nominated for a couple too. And I'm reading some other books and I'm like, I could see this one, but then I could see a whole bunch as well. Like, is this a contender? Likely. Likely, I don't know. If you saw my face, it was like him and Han. I was gonna say between like a probably or a maybe, but I think likely is the word. But I don't know. Well, we'll just have to see. I almost wanted to get like that full wrap up, and then it can be like, okay, on aggregate, here's what your ratings were. But sometimes you gotta like take your feeling into it of like, all right, well, I rated it that high, but do I really feel that way about the full story when you kind of put it all together compared to something else? Maybe it was really the art that carried something. Like, Martian Manhunter's going to catch straight here, and I don't mean it that way, but that art is so top tier. It is a 5 out of 5 on the art, but the story brings it down like pretty tremendously for me. I actually put it at like a 3.5, maybe a 4 on the story. So you net it out, it's like a 4 to 4.5 for me. Is the way that I kind of go about reviewing this stuff. So it's like, okay, yeah, that punched higher as far as the art, but it's just the art that got it to, or it punched higher as far as the score, but it's the art that got it to the score. It's not the full package that actually got it to the score. You know what I mean? Things to consider as I'm thinking about this. We're 6+ months into this, so I kind of have to start game planning some of this content, and then like how we're going to run it moving forward. But anyways, that's that. Those are the reviews, folks. Let's run them through real quick one more time so you have them top to bottom, fresh in your mind, especially for the podcast crew. I know it can be tough. I listened to this one podcast. It's about a whole bunch of video games. It's 3 hosts, and they talk about whatever games that they went through. And sometimes it's just a handful of games, but sometimes, like with this one guy in particular, he plays video games like arcade machines where you just put a quarter in and he just hops around to a whole bunch. We'd be like rattling off like 8 to 9 games. And you're like, what the hell did he do? So with that, I just like to repeat it all. Top to bottom, Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion number 1. Absolute Green Lantern number 3. The Moon is Following Us number 10. Again, that's the conclusion of that book. Absolute Superman number 8. That's the start of a new arc. Jump into that. All New Venom number 7. That I am dropping. C'est la vie. It's cool that at least we ended on that particular cover because that was a nice cover. Bitter Roots number 3, really interesting story there. And again, if you like the movie Sinners, like that's what, and you want more of that, that's the book to read. Peacemaker presents the Vigilante / Eagly double feature number 3. Lord. Sister Imperator number 3. The Avengers 26. And Minor Arcana number 7 from Boom Studio. So, with that, let's get to our polls for next week. And we are locked and loaded for those polls. This is a healthy number, 14. I like that a lot. We can do it. We can run with it. Should be good stuff. In this order, alphabetically. Absolute Batman number 9. That's going to be awesome. Look at that cover with Bane. Looks freaking dope. And look at that cover and look at Bane in comparison. Let's just click into it for the video, folks. Bane in comparison to this Batman, this is like the chunkiest Batman has ever been. And this Bane still looks freaking enormous in comparison. Man, absolutely dope. So we have that. Oh, we flipped the page. Then next we have The Death of the Silver Surfer number 1. This is one I literally just bought it for the cover. Like, look at that cover. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Audio listeners, it's like the Silver Surfer on this like red parallel line that's supposed to be the surfboard. It's like kind of smoky-ish, black and white, yin and yang looking thing. Oh, it is so good. The Death of the Silver Surfer number 1. I highly, highly recommend, if you're on audio, just look it up real quick of what the cover art looks like. That is incredible, man. So, really good for covers. I don't know what's going to win. Actually, I do know. It's going to be that. It's going to be The Death of the Silver Surfer. Then we have Exceptional X-Men number 10. That will be a backlog. Free Planet number 2. If this doesn't hit, I'm going to drop it. There's way too much exposition in the first one. That should have been a novel in the first place, but they decided to do a comic book medium. We'll see. Then we have Green Lantern Corp number 5. Magic number 6 is going to be a backlog. New Champions number 6. One World Under Doom number 5. Looking forward to that for sure. Phoenix number 12. That's going to be a backlog. Sister Imperator number 4. We'll be wrapping that one up. Transformers 21 is going to be dope. Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men. Ultimate Black Panther is going to be 17. Ultimate X-Men is number 16. And then World Tree number 15. Number 14 was kind of a bummer for me in the pivot that we made in the story. So I'm hoping 15 kind of gets back to actually talking about what's happening. Not this, it's not a far future, but, a couple years future down the road. I'd rather let's get back to the core stuff. So those are the 14 books that we have on the docket there. Again, the plan is to do 2 Omega runs, so I'm hoping that's what we're going to be able to do. That is my goal anyways, so hopefully you guys stay tuned for that. So now, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, appreciate that. Like, subscribe, share, comment, do the things. Engagement obviously helps with the algorithm. If you want to see more of this stuff, just let me know in any of those comment sections on things you want to see more, things you want to see less, things that could help improve. Like, the one thing I don't do, and I never have, is I never compress the audio. So if I I laugh, or I say something really high, or I get super close to the mic or far away from the mic because I'm picking up a book, those variables, like, you can hear more than likely, although the mic that I have is pretty decent, so maybe it does a good job of cutting that out. But if you compress everything, it expands the lows, so the lows aren't as low, and it reduces the highs, so the highs aren't as high, and you don't have these peaks and valleys. But I never do that because it takes a long time to do. And I was like, we're small enough, like, people do not care about that stuff. But if you think that that's going to make a difference, so, like, push it over of, like, oh yeah, that's going to take the quality to an even higher level, like, let me know. Like, stuff like that is what I've been, like, thinking about. But I'm like, hey, no one's ever brought it up, and actually every time people listen to this, and like, friends and family have been like, yo, the audio quality is really good. So it's like, okay, I guess I don't have to worry about the compression then. It's something I'm thinking about. But anyways, put those in the comments. Let me know. The likes, the comments, the shares, those help out a lot. Email, saturdaymorningcbreview@gmail.com if you want to send, like, a formalized email. Same thing there. tips, tricks, things you'd like to see in the show, things you don't want to see in the show anymore. Happy to take in and consider any and all feedback. On Instagram, Saturday Morning Comic Review. We'll usually post up the polls, the highlights of the week, trying to do some additional content on top of that. TikTok is going to be the Helpful Bailiff, and then on League, if you're looking for my account and like the books that I have, is also going to be the Helpful Bailiff. All this stuff is going to be on the descriptions if you're listening to this or watching this any which way. So that is where it'll all be at. So with that, I appreciate you guys tuning in so much. Thank you. We're going to continue this thing. I'm going to try to get you guys to Omegas, and then we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Again, Omegas are extra, but I like the cadence that we go at with these Omegas, and I don't have any travel coming up in the near future, so I don't foresee anything getting in the way of that. So thanks again. I do appreciate, and I will see you guys in the next one. Go.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.